This week's tech tip is really more of a reminder than it is something that's going to be new to most teachers, but it's a reminder to do something that we often lose sight of when we're planning instruction, or when we're focused on standards, or we're focused on what content we're going to cover in the classroom, and that's the importance of visual images in helping students understand what we're talking about.
My name is Debbie Zisla, and I'm an ESL teacher here at Harambe. And I've been asked to just share a little bit about the importance of using visuals with language learners. Language learners in school really have the double job of learning school content as well as academic language, and so there are times when we need to either raise or lower the content load or the linguistic load to help them do that. One way of working on that is through the use of visuals. So, for example, if you are beginning to do reading about spiders or suspension bridges or things like that, you may want to activate their prior knowledge with a picture of a bridge. They may not know the word for bridge, but they might know a lot of things about a bridge. And so by seeing the picture of a bridge, that would bring that information to the forefront, and the new information then that you're working on would have something in the brain to attach itself to. The other powerful part about visuals is that they really provide a context for language. And so if you remember back to your own experiences of learning language, you know that most language initially is learned in a context. So you're learning the words for spoon and bottle and bowl while your parent or caregiver is giving you a spoon or a bottle or a bowl. So we know that there's a powerful effect of context on language learning. And so visuals and other sorts of real life objects help to just stimulate that part of the language learning process, which is natural for all of us. So in math, for example, if we use a place value drawing, such as this one that you see here, for 323, students are able to get an idea of the size of number and the relative value of the different places in the number, even if they don't have English words to support that learning yet.
It may seem rather basic, but this is actually one of the great advancements of technology allows us in the classroom. Is it makes this notion of including images with our text extremely easy compared to the ease we had of doing this 10, 15, 20 years ago. So, whereas 10, 15, 20 years ago, if you wanted a large image, you had to either go take a picture and have it developed, or go buy a poster or find it in a magazine or some other physical source. Today you can have access to virtually any image just by searching on Google. And so if for instance you are using slides in a presentation to your students that just include text, we can go into a search engine and we can just type in, let's say, spiders, and we'll get a list of spiders from that search engine. Let's say maybe, this picture here looks exactly like the spiders that my students would know. I can just drag that over into my presentation, and now I have an image that students who have trouble reading or students who are language learners will be able to readily identify that, even though maybe I can't read that it says spiders or understand that the word the teacher just used, now I have the visual to anchor my understanding. Additionally, what modern technology does for us is it allows us to include moving images in a way that we weren't able to do very easily before, just as I had done through Debbie's presentation. And this also presents us with an interesting position, because whereas before most of what we did in the classroom stayed in the classroom, and so a lot of us didn't have to worry about classroom or about the copyright laws beyond the classroom, because the educational clause covered what we did. However, since a lot of what we do is going online nowadays, um, as soon as we publish it, we do have to worry uh, about copyright, and a lot of those provisions in the educational fair use don't apply. So um, I, I think it's probably worthwhile to spend a little time today looking at ways that you can do a search for images and for text that do not um, that are not copyrighted, that are either in the public domain or Creative Commons. And so one way to do this is to go to the Creative Commons website, Creative Commons search, and Creative Commons is a way of licensing content that leaves a lot of the rights of the creator out. So if you take a picture, you can license it Creative Commons, which means that other people can use it as long as they provide attribution. And Flickr, for one, is one site that has made an explicit effort to allow people to do this. So from the Creative Commons search engine, we can type in spiders, and it will search Flickr for Creative Commons licensed pictures of spiders. So here we have some images. Let's say we want let's say this one does a good job of expressing the idea of spider to my students. I could then let's see, when that opens, I can then drag that over. Oops, excuse me. In this case, I may not be able to drag this image like I could with Google. So I want to go on this. I want to see a specific size, and now it's going to let me drag it. So I will take that and drag that image over onto my slide and resize it to fit my needs. Now I can also, like I mentioned earlier, include images, moving images, video, into my presentations in a way I had never been able to do before. And so a good source for free video, or video that is completely completely free of copyright, is the Internet Archive, and this is where I grabbed the clips that I included earlier in this presentation. So now, once I've found a video that I want to include in my presentation or my class discussion, I can add that to if I'm using Active Inspire with a Promethean board, I can add that to Flipchart. If I'm using Smart notebook software for a smartboard, I can add that there as well, or I can do this in a PowerPoint, or even a web page. I can just embed the video if it's already published online somewhere. But in this case, I'm creating a flip chart for Active Inspire. I would go over to Insert Media, and I would go search for the video. In this case, I'm going to grab this one here called Bees and Spiders.wmv, and now that video is in my slide. I could also resize this if I want to make the video bigger or smaller. And I can set it to either play automatically when the slide starts, or to play only when I click it.